Yeah, we're recording now. Hey, Greg. Say hi to everybody. Everybody, this is Greg. He is the super cool programming brother dude of my friend and programmer Zoltan for Revealing Fate. And he's done a lot of the front end design and lots of the cool logos and everything. So everything that you guys have been saying to me about this looks really cool, this is really awesome, it's all because of him. So I want to first shout out to his credence there. So, all right, we've opened this up. And so Greg told me right off the bat he doesn't really have many specific questions or anything. But we can just look at his overall composition because he's got a really unique setup with his astrology. It's not very typical. So we can dive right into that. I got to figure out how to... My recording thing is always popping up. But anyway. All right, so I'm sharing my screen with everyone so they can see. And then you can see this too later, Greg. But I have to figure out some kind of technological thing where I can just figure out how to share this screen with you and seeing you on the call at the same time. So everybody, this is Greg's 4 pillars. And he, right off the bat, we can see he is a yin wood sign. This is E, which is a yin wood sign. And so that means from his perspective, he has a very unique perspective. And if you follow Chinese astrology or look into it, the wood element is all about exponentiation, growth, change, adaptation, collecting that information. Being inquisitive is a natural kind of trait of a person who has this perspective. However, with Greg, when we look down at his... I'm going to try and get your face back in here, Greg, if you look down here at his net transformative tendencies, which is this red line. Do you remember that, Greg? Like those... I'm showing people like your graph of all the 5 elements that are in your 4 pillars that show like what all your elements are doing in equilibrium, if they're out of whack here or if something's going on here. So basically what we can say right off the bat with Greg, and if you can't tell, he's kind of a laid back, chill dude. And that primarily comes from this giant green bar right up here, which to him is the element of metal. So the element of metal from a wood sign's perspective is like what grass sees a lawnmower as. Restriction, a wall, discipline, not being able to go outside a boundary. Greg has very established boundaries, and they're so established to the extent that sometimes he can seem to other people like he doesn't really care or doesn't really have any sort of like connection or initiation or any sort of like, oh, I want to share in the hype, kind of thing. Like he doesn't do that. Like he's just like, I'm here. What can I do? What should I do? And what can't I do? And so his biggest challenge in life is also his biggest asset in that he's very good at critically assessing things in his environment. He's very, like, wouldn't you say, Greg? Like, you're really good at picking up on stuff and, like, observing people and having a unique perspective on that. I pick up on that. And the manner in which he does so is very straight and to the point. Black and white, yes or no, good or bad. Like, he boils it down. He brings it down to the level where it's simple, and he prefers to kind of taste his environment with this kind of lens. What do you think, Greg? Would that say it's kind of you, or am I full of shit?
Sounds like me.
Like if you think it's full of shit, man, just let me know. Like lay it on me, because you've got that natural tendency to be like, well, it's kind of just this, So I think it's really cool about him. It also means that, in general, I think a lot of ladies will be interested in you, but you'll not necessarily pick up on that because you give off an aura where it's like, I don't really need anybody or anything. Like, I'm off of my own thing and I'm kind of in charge of myself. And that comes from the stoicism of that metal. However, like I said, it's a good thing for you. It's like an endowment that you have with all this metal, but it's also a challenge in certain situations because, unfortunately, your, let's call it, criticism of the environment and yourself, like being able to put things into little compartments and say, this is this, that is that, isn't expansive enough. Meaning, you've got more to explore. You've got a lot out there that you should taste. You know, like your brother Zoltan, he's all about that crap. And, you know, sometimes you rightfully, you know, say, hey, Zoltan, maybe, you know, you should reel that back a little bit, which is totally understandable. Like, trust me, guys, like, you don't even know. But Wood is like that. So his brother, my programmer for the site, he just loves to like spread himself everywhere he possibly can. Like, explore this, try that, meet these people, travel here, do this, do that. Greg is not like that. Greg is like, hey, I appreciate how you want to extrapolate everything about the world and experience it, but let's like bring it back down. You're going totally the wrong way about it. You shouldn't expand and go up there and like learn this and learn that, and it just confuses everything inside of you. I want to keep it simple, but you got to try and find that good balance for you, for Greg, that is, okay, I can explore, I can try new things, I can dip my toes into uncharted territory, but at the same time, I have the unique ability to really protect myself and really reel myself back if I go too much out of control. But I feel like you are naturally inclined to want to believe that you're just always like predisposed to having those dangers or those places where you could fall off, that you need to kind of like keep yourself in check, because you do keep yourself in check really well, and it's not typically a common thing that we see in a lot of people with their astrologies and whatnot. I'm going to move this over here because I'm like cutting off my face. Maybe some people say something about that later. But that's the gist of Greg right there, everybody. So I don't know if he had any like questions, if I like got any gears in his mind or anything, but I think he's got a really cool 4 pillars of astrology. Like we've talked about, some personal things here and there, so I won't go into it too much in depth. But another really interesting thing that Greg has is, or rather what he doesn't have at all, is fire. So this means that a typical person, when they're interacting with Greg, might pick up on, okay, well, this dude is just like so chillax. Like, is he even here? Like, is he stoned? Like, is he just spacing out in his own fantasy? And in some extent, yeah, he is. But it doesn't mean he doesn't have, a whole lot to offer. So keep in mind, guys, like fire and metal, they like to go at each other typically, but in certain situations, they really mimic each other in how they can come across to people. Like if a person is really, really blunt and really likes to add definition to the things they discuss with people to give things ramifications, and you know how science is like that, where science is all about, let's label this, put this here, draw a box there, come with this minimalized conclusion. That kind of perspective and that kind of energy is totally metal in all its glory. Fire is also really inconspicuous like that, because when you're doing that, it's really inconspicuous. Like if you just draw a line somewhere, nobody can ignore that line, right? Like the point of you drawing it is to bring attention to something. Fire brings attention to things also, but instead of deducing things to a point or a singularity, it expands on it and explodes it and processes it. So having said that, Greg, I would, just by looking at your chart, not knowing who you are, I would say, well, you might get into some tizzies or some fights with people in the past that are really, really fiery and really energetic, kind of like me, like who are very passionate, very talkative, very bubbly, and very charismatic. Like these types of natural tendencies are typically always fire. So you might find yourself in situations where people are like, how can you think of it so simply? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, where's your passion? Where's your heart? Like, why do things have to be so simple? Like, can't you just think about something new? Like, this kind of situation, when looking at this chart, seems like really likely. So I'm just curious, like, have you experienced like a lot of that in your life here and there? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds pretty correct.
It is correct. And that is all to say, I am Gregory. I'm just joking, man. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here. I hope this gives you guys, some insight about what we can really look at with Four Pillars Astrology. This astrology is really cool. And it really helps us understand what's going on with ourselves, how we use ourselves, and how we interact with people. So I don't know if you have any further questions, Greg. We can maybe call it a, and I'll see you later. But
Alright. Oh, so you're basically saying that I should like kind of try to branch out more and like.
oh yeah, for sure, man. Like your brother. So his brother Zoltan is my programmer, like I've said a million times now. But like his personality's like that. So it's really interesting for me to see when I visit these guys, like the way they play off each other and they really complement each other, because Zoltan himself really needs metal because he's like way off the handle, in my opinion. Like he goes crazy on all his exploration and his endeavors, and like he will literally like not consider, okay, where are my boundaries? Where should I reel this back? What should I not do? Where Greg is more of like, what should I do? I think of too many things not to do. So it's like when they come together, it's kind of like they swirl around each other in a really cool way, with like metal and wood kind of dancing with each other, where each brother has what the other one needs. And it's just really cool, because oftentimes Greg is totally right. Like you're totally right, man. Like when you're talking to Zoltan and he's got like this crazy idea, and it's just like, dude, how can you look at what's straight in front of your face? Like it's simple. Like look at it. You're overthinking it, that kind of thing. You're really good at picking up on that. Like you're super keen on that. But he's more like, you should listen to him a little bit more too. Like, cause he's got a lot of suggestions and a lot of information just by volume that he could really help inspire you to have confidence in yourself, to be like that, in a sense, to have that. Because wood, for you, if you were to find a person who has a lot of wood, like you're drawn to that because those people, perhaps at a subconscious level, make you feel like, okay, yeah, I can totally be this way. I can totally reach and branch. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be wrong. It doesn't have to be simple sometimes. Sometimes it can be really complex and interesting and a mystery. And that's fine. So that's what I would say to you, brah.
Okay. That's reasonable.
I love it, man. I love the way you are. It's so cool. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this, man, and I hope you guys enjoyed this too. I'm going to be pushing out as many of these videos as I can to show everyone and share what I've learned in how unique people are, and how looking at this can really transform your life in the ways of how you interact with people and how you make your decisions in the moment with energetic transaction and just being human. So I appreciate it, Greg, very much.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. That was helpful.
Cool. All right, guys. Yeah, I hope to be, man. You've got a cool chart, and I really enjoy reading cool charts. So.
Well, I could do that for you.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it. So if you like this video, be sure to comment on it. Be sure to share it with your friends, whatnot, and we'll keep pushing them out. All right.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, see you, man.